We've nearly come to the end of our Same Again series, and if you found it helpful, there's a couple of things you might like to consider. First of all, we're meeting for the first time physically on Sunday at 4 o'clock in Hedgemans Road. We'd love you to join us. You'll receive a very warm welcome, even though we'll stay socially distanced. Our service will consist of a short talk and a chance to ask any questions. It would be great to see you there. Secondly, you could also fill in a contact card here on the website, and we'll only use these to provide details of other online things that we do and to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, things are a bit different, aren't they? You might be wondering why we're both here. Well, the lockdown is easing, that's true, and neither of us, I don't think, wanted this to end. But it's mainly because of our subject for tonight, which is the question, what about me? When we look back at what we've seen, we saw this. We saw that it's God's world. He made it and rules it. He made us rulers under him.
And then we saw how all of humanity has made a disastrous choice to reject this rule, turn away from God, and live our own lives.
We saw what God is going to do about that. Death means rebellion won't be allowed to continue, and that we face God's judgment.
But then we saw that God sent Jesus to earth, and he lived perfectly under God's rule, but then faced God's wrath and died a cruel death on a cross.
We saw that having risen from the dead, though, Jesus is God's ruler and will return. We will all stand before him and give an account for our lives. What this brings us to is to see that there are just two ways actually to live. The object of this session is to clearly outline what those options are, to give us all the opportunity to think which best represents the way I want to live going forward.
So these are our two ways to live. First of all, we could live our way, and then secondly, we could live God's way through Jesus. So first of all, let's have a look at what it looks like to live our way. Do you know what the most common song played at funerals is? It's I Did It My Way. And that's a great summary of the first way to live. Living our way, doing things our way, is living a life turned away from God. That's the choice that many people make. And you can kind of see why it would be attractive. It means that basically you can carry on doing whatever you want. Who cares what God says? It's all about me, my agenda, what I want to do. Whatever direction you want to take in your life, whatever direction I want my life to take, it's on the cards, go for it. And there's no changes really required either. It's a luxury, living your life with God not being involved. What's the result of this? Well, the problem with this is eventually God will give you what you ask for. Our verse for tonight explains what that will look like. It says, "Whoever believes in the Son has eternal life. But whoever does not obey the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of God remains on him." Let me read that again. Whoever believes in the Son has eternal life. Whoever does not obey the Son shall not see life, but the wrath of God remains on him. A life turned away from God will sadly result in an eternity away from him, as he turns away from us in righteous anger forever. God rightfully punishes our rejection of him with eternal death and never-ending anguish of separation from him in an existence without life and without love. Everything that you build up in this life will be no more, and at the point when your life ends, there will be no more hope. But at this point, there is hope.
That's right, there is hope. God's new way in Jesus. One of my favourite verses from the Bible is in Romans, and it says this: "Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved." What that would look like is an honest conversation with God. And it would have two parts to it, both beginning with A. First one, A, admit. Admit that you've been the ruler, and yet you now see that God's the rightful ruler, and his judgment is fair. Ask. Ask that he would rule your life, and that he would help you to know how to live the way he wants. Perhaps having seen the mess we've made of things, this is exactly the right moment for us to be humbled. We'll come to God helpless, with empty hands and seeking his help, not proudly thinking we can do it ourselves and that we're doing great. What would this bring in life now? Well, firstly, it would bring joy and peace with God, knowing that your sin has been forgiven. What a relief. It would mean that you can know him as your loving Father and the love of others that he has saved. It will mean learning to live his way by listening to the Bible. But I have to be honest, and the Bible is, there will be difficulty as others struggle to understand the change in you and why Jesus is now so important and why you think it's important for others to know about him too. What will it bring when Jesus returns? Well, instead of being treated as a rebel and punished as God's enemy, you'll be seen as Jesus is with his perfect obedience, and you'll spend eternity thanking him for what he's done for you. Can we remind you of the invite Sam made at the start? We'd love to see you. It would be great to meet you in person. Please do come on Sunday to Hedgemans Road at 4 o'clock. The address is on the website. Well, why not fill in that contact card? It would be great to keep in touch and to be able to suggest some other things that you might find interesting to help you to think this through further. What about me? Well, there really only is two ways to live. There's our way and there's God's new way in Jesus. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Same Again.
Yeah, I was going to do it.
Mate, we talked about this, didn't we? Like we talked about this. I did the first video. You get to do the second video.
Okay, fine.
Mate,
So you see that...
mate, what are you doing?
Wait, you forgot last time.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that
I
was
should do
once. That was once.
it.
I mean,
I've remembered every time, so surely I should be the one.
there's no more pictures anyway.
Yeah,